On a frigid winter day, University of Maine Farmington professors Julia Daly and Rachel Hovel load up their gear on a sled and head out on skis and snowshoes to Midway Pond near Saddleback Mountain in Western Maine. While this area is well known for outdoor recreation, scientists are also beginning to learn just how ecologically important it is. And that's why Daly and Hovel are taking samples here today. They're starting to document the role that these small, high-elevation lakes might play as climate change continues to impact the region.
One thing that makes Franklin County special is that we have all of these winter recreation opportunities, and that's something that our area is really known for. And one thing that I think is really important about this research is that it helps us understand how winter is changing.
Research on these unique ecosystems have lagged, in part because many of the lakes aren't easily accessible. This spot is easier to get to than most. After hiking a mile and a half through the thick snow up a gradual slope, they arrive at a pristine, snow-covered lake. Hovel uses GPS coordinates to identify the precise location of a buoy, which Daly placed in the water a decade ago when she first began researching ice out dates at this lake.
It's right about here.
It holds sensors that measure water circulation, temperature, and ice dynamics year-round.
Winter is the time of year that's changing the most in Maine. And so fall is occurring later, spring is happening earlier, and our ability to monitor using the buoy throughout the year gives us a good window into that.
After they locate the sensors, they begin clearing a space with shovels so they can put a hole in the ice using a hand auger, the same tool used for ice fishing.
Woo! Wow.
Okay, that was a little bit less than I thought.
Then, Hovel slowly lowers an instrument called a multi-parameter sonde into the hole. Every second it records temperature and dissolved oxygen. It also measures the concentration of phytoplankton.
There's still a lot of activity happening, and we're starting to get a better understanding of, for instance, algae, phytoplankton, growing under the ice.
Next, Hovel uses a net to gather a sample of zooplankton, aquatic animal microorganisms.
Definitely pretty quiet. We'll do a couple more.
But there's more happening under the ice than meets the eye. Hovel identifies tiny red zooplankton swimming around in the sample. When they revisit the site at a warmer time, they'll be able to compare the level of activity.
In the past few years, as more people starting to realize that there's a lot happening in lakes biologically underneath the ice in the winter. They don't just shut down.
Hovel says it's important to find out if high-elevation lakes hold potential as climate refugia, areas where the effects of rising temperatures are largely buffered because of unique local conditions. In other words, this lake could be a place that remains habitable to organisms in the future, in part because of a thick insulated snowpack layer over the ice.
So 43 centimeters to refusal in the snow.
Okay.
Researchers and natural resource managers in the Northeast are working together to gather baseline data, and Daly and Hovel's research is beginning to shed light on how to identify and manage climate refugia. It's research that has impact across the state.
When we think about changing climate, it's really important to remember how connected our whole landscape is, all the way from sort of the tops of the mountains all the way out into the Gulf of Maine. And the information that we're getting here is giving us an idea about climate responses at sort of the top end of that system, the top end of the watershed.
As the effects of climate change accelerate, these places allow for research into adaptation strategies in the short term and possible safe havens in the long term.
One of the signals that we have to be hopeful for is this idea of resilience across the landscape. And we know we have a growing understanding of what gives us that resilience. It seems to be diverse ecosystems, diverse biological communities that have potential to have the right traits for a climate future.
And Hovel says that's something that can give Mainers a bit of hope.